every half second while in combat, it regened, which put it over Saint's smite threshold, and he smited it and had 1 health. But then they still got the Baron, so it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, they still got it anyways. Yeah. It was like Cop, right? Cop's quirky. Maybe cut it right up. It's all right.
Will we see an Urgot ban is my big question.
Don't you feel defeated when you have to do that, though?
When you ban Urgot, you've already lost.
Nidalee and Maokai, some things we've been expecting to see. There's, as Saint was talking about.
Honestly, I'm a little surprised by the Nidalee ban. Maybe Saint's been putting a lot more time into the champion because Saint Vicious pretty much always finds success on tanks, and Nidalee is anything but a tank. Of course, that Nunu game yesterday, very, very tanky man. But yeah, they end up banning it away.
Big beast indeed. We'll see what he decides to fly with this time. Zingy went with Zach as well, so we got tanks out of both of these guys. We still have some junglers in NA that still go straight for damage. We saw Medios doing that as well. Ari LeBlanc will get hit out. Some focus there for Shifter to take him off the Assassins and really hit Dignitas where it hurts.
Really targeted bans there by Gravity, and similarly targeted bans over from Team Dignitas. 2 thrown at Saint, 1 at Hanser. And it really, even though Urgot is the standout from the composition Gravity ran against TSM yesterday, it was the Maokai Nunu that gave them the huge amount of tankiness. But we always talk about Saint Vicious' ability to play champions early when the patch changes, and Sejuani is probably the strongest jungler on this patch, in my opinion.
Huge beast at the moment. Always putting out his jungleology videos, making sure he knows what's going on in that meta. Sivir picked up as well for comp. Actually hasn't gone to that too many times, but will try his hand at it today with this composition that looks like it will be stampeding through what Dignitas tries to put on the table. A little disengaged maybe after what they see from Gravity.
Zingy did find some success on that Zac yesterday. He likes those slightly different junglers.
You could say that.
His Amumu and Fiddlesticks and Karthus in solo queue.
Yep.
I wouldn't be too surprised if we ended up seeing Urgot again.
It's not bad against this team already.
I think they probably want to wait until they see what the mid lane matchup is. But since it is Keen, and he got over 1,000 retweets for saying Urgot afterwards of the game, I feel like he wants to play off of that for a little longer.
Just saying Urgot. Morgana be a great pickup here. I was going to say Hecarim is still open.
Yeah.
Easily picked up if necessary here.
Stampede team composition a little bit here. Sivir making everyone run fast. The horse and the pig.
Only 1 game to Haunter's Hecarim. I think he would have played more. We always thought we would see it on Keen in the first place, and then when they did play it, it went into the top lane. So
that's the great thing about this, is it could very well just be a mid lane
That's
Hecarim.
right. That's right.
Keen. Gravity's one of the teams that can actually use that Hecarim successfully as a flex pick if they want to. And now this makes it so Gravity can somewhat counterpick both of their last lanes, and it makes it kind of difficult for Dignitas to plan this one.
Looking for an 80 carry that can chew through these tanks at least. Core JJ is going to go with this Tristana. He's got to stay safe. There's going to be a lot of things that can catch him out, so this may be the pick he wants. Definitely discussing it with the team there.
Yeah, Janitrist worked pretty well for them yesterday, actually. Their ability to just eat through turrets. I wonder here. This would be a little bit different there with the Xerath. Long range.
Especially with a team that just wants to jump on you.
Yeah, Xerath is one of the few champions that can still work with that, only because he can apply his damage from so far back.
Yeah.
That you can still run a team that dives in and as well as having Xerath, and Xerath will reach him anyway.
A lot of discussion between Rico and Shifter there before the pick was locked in. They felt that it was comfortable enough to round out the composition. And we'll see that Dignitas has that Tristana. The late game power is going to come from that. We'll see how they make it through the mid part of the game. With Gravity being strong lately, they have not been afraid to make moves.
No, they definitely have not.
Oh.
If they lock this in here, they'd have a lot of physical damage. I'm hoping to be surprised by this last pick, whether they end up throwing the Morgana top, a Fizz top.
I think it still might be, yeah.
I think it's a Fizz top. There we go. Keen mid Hecarim.
So he gets it.
Something cool.
Locks it in. I mean,
or not. They get to play this game now.
What is it, 20 seconds?
20 seconds is the last moment you're able to swap away.
That's right.
Fizz has made a bit of a comeback since the nerfs to his AP ratios is becoming a bruiser or an attack speed man in the jungle. A lot of times you'll see Trinity Force, Blade of the Ruined King, Frozen Hearts, part of that core build, but you rarely see the Fizz in the mid lane since the changes.
Yeah. Still puts a bit of AD on the team depending on what he goes. This is going to be very interesting. He's going to be staying in the mid lane with 20 seconds already on that champ select clock. That means they cannot switch, allowing players to adjust and get ready to head into the game with the right runes and masteries according to their lane. What a matchup again. So Gravity, I feel like they've kind of been holding these cards up their sleeve. While we know it was there to be played, we haven't, maybe they saw it in scrims, but we haven't seen it on the stage, and it's going to be different for Dignitas to have to battle against.
Yeah, whose bag of tricks are they reaching into now?
Right.
It really feels like Keen in a lot of ways. They bait the Urgot, they even bait the Hekra mid lane pick, which Xerath would be really good against, range-wise, as far as his advantage. But now, I want to see what he builds on that Fizz.
It's going to be interesting to see for this matchup. As always, share your predictions. Tweet hashtag DIGWin or hashtag GVWin to add LOL Esports, and we'll see how you're voting in just a bit as the picks and bans are on your screen. Maybe it swayed your vote a little bit. We'll have to see. People didn't really believe in the Urgot yesterday. They didn't have too many votes, but then again, they were against Team Solomit.
Yeah, they're all believers now, but they decide not to pick it 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
They need to wait for the right matchup against it.
I do like that Dig didn't go ahead and ban it. It feels defeating. You're wasting such a ban there, and he has such a big champion pool to work with. So coming out of picks and bans, I'm excited to see how the lanes match up as well.
So there's a couple things I want to focus on in this game from Gravity's side. I'll get to that in a bit because we actually have some ships passing in the night here as both teams run into each other's jungle. Whew.
Very quiet. Oh,
man.
Oh.
How'd they get there?
He saw him.
They missed him. He would have seen him.
Yep, pings. Too many pings. That was close. So Shifter may have had to blow a flash there. If the instance came in, Kiwi Kid.
Game.
Very good choice.
So they know that Xerath wouldn't be with the team. If Gravity could collapse in with the right amount of people, they'd be able to make something happen. But even Keen, this is tricksy. Why is Dignitas still there? I feel like Gravity is... All right, and they're gone. Whew. That was really peculiar. They both ended up getting deep wards, but as far as which lane they decided to scout for lane swap situation, they both chose the top lane, which is somewhat rare. At that point, they just, since they took different paths and since there was some weird timing with Shifter getting seen, we end up getting this zero-sum early game.
Wow. We'll see who reacts better to this one. Right now, we still have Kiwi Kid roaming, and it looks like the same. Not even the same. It's going to be Bunny Fufu helping out a little bit more to get
Gamsu decides to do the execute game, even though we saw yesterday from Zion Spartan, you can clear without executing if you start Q. He decides to start W. There's no real cost to doing the execute game outside of it's a little bit more risky, and if someone runs in to auto-attack you once, they'd actually get a kill.
Fantasy points.
Haven't seen that happen. Yeah, also half a fantasy point. Oh, that roam! Woo!
That's a flash.
Buddy walked up, ignited, and then threw the binding. But they end up getting Shifter's flash for it. That'll allow Keen to aggress a little bit, and St. Vicious just doing the vertical jungling on the side of his AD carry and support. Expect the same from Dignitas here. So we are absolutely in a lane swap scenario.
Yeah.
Which typically favors the Scion.
We saw it favor the Scion for sure yesterday. The Janna Tristana was not able to do too much. Zion Spartan saying it was just too strong. So we'll see if Gamsu has the same go about it. Bunny Foof is going to be able to put a bit more damage down than that Janna would, so he may have some trouble.
If we think back to the Gravity versus COG game, Haunter had a really, really bad time in 1v2 lane swaps. Zion Spartan was actually on Hecarim and was able to get a 200 CS to 100 CS advantage at a certain point in the game. And that was because COG was good at manipulating waves, leaving large amounts of CS for Hecarim to go and get.
Yep.
But it's something that Gravity hasn't really shown a huge strength for, and when you lane swap a Hecarim, theoretically, the Hecarim should lose, unless you're really, really good at playing the map.
And he's getting
As of
super
right
denied.
now, he's getting super denied, whereas Gamsu's Scion is level 4 and able to farm.
You're looking for some home guard, Haunts or horsing just a little bit later in the game. It can still make an impact if he gets in and out fast enough for the team to create even more chaos. But right now, Dignitas, more early game moves from them, trying to dictate something at their own pace. And it's been working for the past few days. Hopefully they can keep it going this time.
They're going to take this turret right down. The Tristana explosives on the turret push it early game faster than any other champion.
Smart move. Besides Sivir, not a super amount of wave clear coming from this team, so we'll see what Dignitas can do if they push up to Gravity right quick here and get some nice wards down. Still trying to push out Gamsu. 18-4 in CS between those opposing lanes at the tops.
And look at him just... Whoop. Always in experience range. St. Fish is trying to help out Haunter, but Haunter's still getting denied, and all of those minions just dying to the turret. If the turret had a CS counter right now, it would be quadrupling Haunter at least.
Gotta get all them taxes in.
That's honestly at least the 4th wave that's died straight to the turret.
So what do you do as Haunter here? Can you go and steal somebody else's CS, or do you just kind of defend for now, by yourself?
It's all in the way that it was presented early on in the game. If they knew that they were going to get 3 or 4 man camped like that, St. Vicious and Haunter needed to be double jungling.
So just not even go to the lane.
Not even go to the lane. Unless they're willing to send Bunny Fufu and St. Vicious to hold 3v4 and get minion experience, he's just going to straight up get denied. What Haunter was doing there was completely useless. Like, he was not offering anything to the map pressure-wise, and he was not getting experience himself. The only thing it could potentially unlock is if St. Vicious was just ignoring him and taking the jungle for himself, but that didn't even happen. St. Vicious came over to help around the backside. What I was going to say before we had the level 1 is I wanted to see St. Vicious's performance on Sejuani this game, because yesterday we saw a pretty poor performance on Sejuani from Helios because the farm was way too low. Sejuani's a champion who actually needs to farm a little bit in the early game, get Cinder Hulk early, then become really, really powerful. And we just haven't seen that from other junglers.
Another roam from Bunny. Is it enough to take him down? The Ignite is tick. No, it's Grievous. It's going to be the hit from right of the Arcane. Takes down Keen, all of his summoners as well. Getting out of the 2v1 situation. Great job by Shifter.
Keen has not had good luck with turret dives this week. His Urgot game, people are so easy to forget. He flashed into the turret and died against Bjergsen.
That was painful.
Here, again, overcommitting and then not being able to dodge any of the Shifter ultimates. Props to Kiwi Kid, though, for that roaming presence. In the lane swap, swapping back since they killed the turret, Gravity definitely lost track of him, and Kiwi Kid was able to find a spot where he could make an impact.
Let's see as well now to the top lane as we get our lanes matched back up. How fast Dignitas decide to push this, because this could be Haunter's chance to get himself a little bit back in the game now that he's matched up against Gamsu in the bottom.
Yeah, you'll be able to at least farm a little bit. Especially since Scion is a champion that pushes the lane pretty aggressively. And with no turret to stop the minions, there's a chance Gamsu could overpush that, and Haunter would actually want to set up a freeze. That is what he needs to do right now, since Cop and Bunny can hold against CoreJJ and Kiwi Kid. Up until this point, Dignitas has been destroying this lane swap.
Yep. Doing pretty good in the CS as well. St. Vicious hasn't had too much of a hand in other than helping Haunter for a second. He's 28-19 in CS, so he is doing that farming on the Sej you were just talking about. Hopefully can be an impact here quite soon. Maybe now that the 2v2 lanes are matched up, there's some kill pressure from that top side here.
So once again, Team Dignitas putting themselves in the lead.
Yep.
And now a lot of the pressure is on Gamsu to perform. He's pushing the lane against Haunter. Expect a bit of a freeze by the Hecarim. Where will Scion go to create pressure?
More on to Shifter in the mid lane, knowing that flash is down. From red to top, St. Vicious goes and does actually get that gank off. So the matchup meant that Gravity just wanted to get something out of it as well.
It looks like he caught Kiwi Kid trying to get some blind deep wards in. which could have been a pretty big mistake. Saintfish is getting his level 6 gank off, and now just trying to body core JJ.
And it looks like he's doing a great job of it here as well. Just about to get some help from Bunny Fufu, but core JJ plays that one safe because he has a ward just on the other side of the wall. Losing some minions at the turret, however, for his little adventure into the jungle.
And Sejuani is pretty ridiculous on this patch. I just need to take a moment to talk about how ridiculous she is. She was already coming in before Cinderhawk. This one, yeah, Kiwi Kid had just placed the deep ward. They Sivir ult from one side. Saintfish just comes in from the jungle. It was basically a very risky ward by Kiwi Kid to place without jungle backup, but more so Gravity taking advantage of their move speed in order to close it up Kiwi Kid for the kill. To get back to Sejuani, we were seeing Sejuani before Cinderhawk created the buff to tank junglers that gave them so much more damage, and Sejuani was already a very high damage tank jungler. When he has the Cinderhawk aura as well as that W, which can do percent max health as well as persistent damage, based off the max health of the jungler, it's so many levels of absurd if Sejuani gets some gold in her inventory to get these things going. And Saintfish has been farming, unlike what Helios was doing yesterday.
Maximum damage. Yeah, it's really deceiving. Percent is always pretty deceiving, especially. Don't expect it from Woman on the Boar. He's been trying to get that quite a few times now that he's playing Zac. The early dragons for Dig. Actually, it's something they've historically done as well.
And it's something Azingi specializes in solo queue. I feel like that's one of his greatest strengths when he's not even on a team environment, is his judgment of when he can go in and take a dragon without team help. He pretty much plays junglers that are very good at taking dragon, whether it be Fiddlesticks. He had a Vi phase where Vi, because of her shield and percent health damage on W, was great at soloing dragon. In every game, he just give his team that huge dragon advantage. Again, you see it here on the LCS stage.
Definitely helping out Dignitas in the early stages of the game. Shifter's going to need it. Keen is just playing back and forth mind games with him in the mid lane. He's staying back, but that aggressiveness of the possible kill, especially here in the bottom lane as well, as they go tit for tat. Woo! The tank's going back and forth, punch for punch. Haunter came out a little bit stronger on that, but I don't know what Gamsu could have come up with there in the last second of his ult.
Yeah, Haunter fighting back. Getting that lane swap to end really benefits Gravity. Hecarim, of course, running that Ignite to teleport combat summoner advantage gave him the edge here, and he trying to stop his jungle from getting stolen.
Just walking in calmly, cool and collected.
You gonna go?
I don't know if he wants to bounce just yet. Yeah. Keen coming up from the top side. Good call. Gamsu, however, the ult is down from him, but they do get the roar down. Flash from Bunny Fufu. That's going to hurt somewhat of initiation if they want to go back in from him.
Interesting how if Gamsu was going to burn the teleport to come in, that Azingi wasn't willing to pull the trigger on his bounce right away. I feel like Dignitas could have gotten a kill there if they had been completely on the same page. Gravity ends up getting the blue steel and escaping with just a flash from Bunny Fufu.
Do you find it interesting that Zac went Chilling Smite, Cinderhawk, instead of Trailblazer? Since there is so much slow to offer from him?
So, I feel like, I'll get to that in a minute because he's about to jump over a giant wall. I decided not to. I feel like Ranger's Trailblazer, if the jungler doesn't need sustain and has AoE abilities to kill camps like the Raptors, is unnecessary. Zac has good sustain in the jungle once he gets his item, and he has large amounts of AoE, so he's a natural fit for a non-Ranger's Trailblazer jungle item on a tank.
Getting a little bit more effectiveness out of the next ability of Smite, but looks like Dignitas will require him at this turret. Too little too late. Gravity coming up with a bit more on the map. That's one turret for them in the top lane. We'll see where they decide to spread it. Dig took that turret down in the bottom lane quite early, and as soon as they transferred Triss to the top lane with Kiwi Kid, they pinged Gravity's top turret, and they still haven't been able to get to it. So it didn't work out instantly for them.
Team Dignitas had the early advantage with that lane swap, but were unable to capitalize on said advantage. As we're moving towards the mid game, Gravity has definitely equaled this game in terms of strength. You can see the top laner CS has equalized.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mid lane gold is close because Keen ended up giving that death over to Shifter, and turrets, the most important thing, are equal at the moment. The dragon is the only thing giving Dignitas that slight edge, but it hasn't even kicked in really yet since it is percentage of your attack damage and ability power, and there strictly isn't that much of that in the game yet.
Let's see how long Haunter can hold this. Doesn't look like too long, but Cop is picking up a good amount of CS in the bottom lane. Once again, Shifter gets hit up by Keen. It hasn't always been the ability to kill him, but Shifter has a hard time staying in lane after the fact every time.
Yeah, Shifter has to cleanse the Ignite there, and again, Summoner Spell burned. He got out of the Dark Binding, though, but now he has no ultimate, and this turret's getting pressured down. It looks like this is a turret trade. Tristan in the top, Sivir in the bot.
Good move by Gravity, as well as Team Dignitas to keep things rolling here. Keeping the turrets even as well, so that gold stays true. Zingy towards the mid lane. Oh, just misses Keen. Got out alive. Uses Kiwi Kid, and he flashes safely. I don't think they're going to be able to put enough damage on him here. Good ultimate coming out. A Zingy throws out right to the Arcane. Is he right on top of it? And he is. A Zingy's able to get the last squeak for the kill.
Keen not able to be trickstery enough. 2 close deaths getting killed pretty much by that Shifter ultimate. St. Vicious, though, knowing they've burned a lot of spells, does he decide to fight? He gets the slow. Where's the ult? There it is!
Oh, Glacial Prison locking up Kiwi Kid. It's enough of the cuffs to take him down. Zingy almost going down himself. I believe his passive is up, though, so he would be okay.
I gotta say, St. Vicious knows how to play Sejuani right there. You see so many Sejuanis throw out their bola before it's necessary. The ultimate of Sejuani is a very skinny skill shot, but people feel like it's thick since when you see it hit, it explodes in this big radius. What St. Vicious did there, since he didn't need to throw it out immediately and had the angle, he ran up to them, got the permafrost slow on them first, and then point blanked his bola to guarantee the stun. That is an optimization that better Sejuani players end up using, and St. Vicious did it right there in order to secure a kill for Cop.
It's one of the hardest ultimates to really assess and kind of turn on. Once you get hit with Glacial Prison, you're pretty much trying to get out of the fight as fast as possible. Saint making that even harder. You see the damage from Gamsu here in the top lane. He's going for a Warden's Mail next, but he's already got pieces of a Frozen Heart here to just be such a beast against Haunter. He has not too many items to his name just yet. I think he has to go back and buy.
The new trend of maxing Q on lane Sion instead of maxing the E first is proving very effective in the North American LCS. Zion Spartan did it yesterday, Gamsu doing it today, and you can see why. With no attack damage items, but with AD runes, that Q spell can do 500 damage from Sion at a full charge. It's a bit too much. It's actually 519 from Gamsu right now with his current setup.
Clearing waves and your lane opponent.
Yep.
That's how it works. Haunter's been able to keep himself alive in that lane, even though he's taken quite a beating since they've matched up. Get back to Shifter in the mid lane, who has been getting hit hard by Keen himself. But I'm sure Keen is feeling the pressure since all of those attacks have usually come up with him dying on the other end, unfortunately.
He really has his CS advantage. It'll be interesting to see how he progresses his build. You can see a bit of a bruiser build coming out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Glacial Shroud, wow.
Yeah, Gravity does not have this speed shrine. This is kind of building up to a fight.
TP from both sides. Haunter from the base. Gamsu in right above them. Haunter on home guards. Will he be able to do anything big for the team? It's Dragon going over to St. Vicious, and not a whole lot of damage to zero anybody out, so this one's going to drag on a little bit, but they are able to start finding the kills. One on Shifter, one on Core JJ, and Team Dignitas is forced to run for the hills.
Yeah, and St. Vicious gets the smite. Very critical there. Zingy could not outsmite him. Very important there, and we saw their Keen coming in from the flank on a pretty hard-to-kill Fizz with an Abyssal Scepter and a Glacial Shroud.
Yeah.
Gravity takes a big advantage off that Dragon fight, equalizing the bonuses from one Dragon buff and getting a lead on turrets.
I mentioned, though, even if Haunter was down, the teleport Flying Horse makes things hard to adjust to in the fight.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Gamsu tries to create a front line, but because he dove so hard for the support, there is no front line anymore, and the rest of Dignitas gets flanked on. Keen and Haunter able to take down Shifter. Again, St. Vicious waits until a latter part of the fight in order to throw his ultimate, making it easier to land. Sejuani is definitely better used as a secondary initiation when people are distracted. And that's what's happening here with this Gravity composition. Haunter and Keen are the ones going in first, and St. Vicious is just being a reliable CC cleanup machine. He's got to run from this guy, though.
Ward for a roar. Gets it out. this Sivir ultimate is having huge effects as Dignitas has been trying to disengage these fights. They cannot get away from Gravity. And after that, St. Vicious and Bunny Fufu just keep the stick on from the rest of the team. Haunter towards the top lane here to clear some waves. We'll see what Dignitas can get out of this, but they're also getting split in the bottom by Keen here.
Yeah.
See if they have to act on that.
This guy, Keen, he just likes playing mid laners who build Frozen Heart or something.
I was going to say, I love his build. He just finished that recently as well. He's going to come up for the backside here, chat. He could make a big impact. Not a lot of wards.
Yeah, no
that
turret
pink one, though,
from
is where it needs to
Dignitas
be.
either. I feel like they spotted him with the pink when he was looking for the flank. Gravity may be developing a bit of their own unique team identity, especially with Keen. I mean, they have found success when he is on bruisery mid laners. Mid lane Hecarim, mid lane Urgot, and now mid lane Abyssal Frozen Heart Fizz. It's a very, very dive-heavy style, and they're almost over-tanking their team, but it allows them to just get this Zerg mentality in a team fight and go for someone. It really works to their benefit, especially against teams like Team Dignitas who aren't quite there communication-wise and can't quite disengage at the level that they would like to. We'll see if Gravity can find some decisive fights here in the mid-game now that they've pulled an advantage of their own.
Just 20 minutes into this one, the 3K gold lead to Gravity, allowing them to do pretty much whatever they want. What Fizz, or rather, Keen will be able to pull out in the upcoming games here for Gravity in the end of this split. Really going to throw teams for a loop. Dignitas seems to not know what to do against it, so you're going to have to now look at Urgot, look at Fizz for him. That Hecarim is still going to be something they can use. They're kind of opening up windows for themselves here as the split goes to the end, comes to the end.
Gravity is just building yet another tank team. A tank team sped up by Sivir. And for Team Dignitas, in order to take down a tank team, a lot of times you would need percentage health damage, a lot of area of effect damage. Zac does do, as well as Sion, some percentage health damage within their kit. But those are guys that typically want to be on the squishy targets. And Cop is just so hard to get to because the front line of Gravity is so immense. Since Gravity has been able to pull a lead here, it gives them a lot of safety because when you have so many tank lines, it kind of becomes balls of stats fighting against each other.
Yeah.
And right now, because Gravity has an item lead, they just have more stats.
Looks like they're trying to get a few more deep wards in here as well. Power in numbers. St. Vicious and Bunny Fufu hip to hip here as they try to tread through the jungle. Maybe something towards top onto Haunter, but it looks like Gamsu is going to back and they won't get anything out of it. So Team Dignitas just grabbing up some resources, hopefully that lead to an advantage in an upcoming fight. Unfortunately, everything they're doing right now is on the top side, and Gravity's heading for the bottom. Looks like they're going to be able to use Haunter's teleport here. It's just coming back up, so he will stay there and continue to push the lane.
Yeah, Haunter's completely caught up with Gamsu. Actually surpassed him in CS. Team Dignitas needs Shifter to complete a death cap so he can provide threat onto Sivir from far range. And they need Core JJ to have 2, maybe even 3 more items. A late game Trist with the Janet would be enough to cut through some of these tanks, but he is not quite there yet.
Yeah.
On Gravity's side, they need to abuse this mid-game power spike. Fizz, with that build, does not have good late-game scaling, but it's very strong now in that level 13 2-item phase.
He's the guy diving to the back line, slowing down Trist, crushing Shifter when he can to make sure he can't slow or put place for Right of the Arcane. As Zingy just plops over the wall and grabs that. Nicely done. But the wards from Gravity here, soon to pay off, most likely. They are encroaching farther and farther up into Team Dignitas' jungle. They've got Baron covered, but nobody's really around that right now. Another dragon over to Gravity.
Yep.
Easily controlling this game. We'll see if they get themselves into any mistakes here.
I always say when both teams have one dragon, the second dragon is quite inconsequential and pretty much just goes to whoever has the bigger mid-game power spike. It's not worth fighting at this point for Team Dignitas. Dragon 3, they'll have to reevaluate, see if they've reached the right types of power spikes, whether or not Shifter has a death cap, whether or not Core JJ has a last whisper at that point, and then decide that. at this point, Team Dignitas could end up just conceding every Dragon in the rest of the game until that Dragon 5 because they need to wait to hit some big item thresholds.
That'd be good for Core JJ. Get Triss big, get Gamsu big. We saw what Zion Spartan could do yesterday on that. Pretty much become unkillable. So Dignitas is just going to bide their time now. Might want to sweep a little bit. They're actually on double Scrying Orb right now due to trying to stay safe and secure in their own jungle.
Yeah, you don't see many teams go double Scrying Orb, but it's something Team Dignitas has done looking all the way back to last year's Summer Split playoffs. In their first best of 5 against Team Solo Mid, they did double Scrying Orb pretty much every single game when they're doing some of those late game strategies. It definitely helps them proceed with more safety when they're having issues getting ward coverage on the map. Because at this point, it's not so much about clearing out vision of their own jungle. It's just about avoiding gravity at all costs.
Right. That's going to help as well once Shifter can start getting some Right of the Arcane out on low members, as well as getting some of these wards out into safe spots. We saw Kiwi Kid die early in the game in the top lane from trying to go for a deep ward. St. Vicious caught him out to start things off. And so far, it's been a little back and forth. The lane swap from Dignitas really put him ahead in the early game, but it seems like it fizzled out as soon as they took the first turret down. Couldn't really
it absolutely
get
did.
to work.
It's very similar to Team Dignitas' game yesterday against CLG. They were able to get a lead, which is a great...
Yeah.
It's great for Team Dignitas' progress, but they're not very experienced once they get to that point. It's kind of like, all right,
we did it.
What do we do now?
Yeah, we're here.
And they don't have that part of their strategy down yet. At this point, it is just Gravity probably waiting on some of these Dragon timers, waiting a little bit until they can kill Baron faster as well.
Well, be a good chance for Dignitas to try and put their foot down. Once they start to get maybe one more Static Shift Infinity Edge is finished over onto Core JJ. Maybe one more item onto Shifter. He's looking at about 1,600 gold right now.
Yep,
so
very, very close to that.
Close
Death
indeed.
Cap. That will be huge for Team Dignitas. Although Locket is completed by St. Vicious, so some Team Magic Resist, something you need to do against Xerath. And do they find the fight? They gotta go!
That's going to be onto Gamsu. Nice spell shield by Cop. Allows him to keep hitting a Zingy. Almost take him down immediately. A little bit too much tank for him to get off what he needs, though. And Gamsu, the rest of the team knows they now have to get over here to this bottom tier turret. Right of the Arcane will not be used to take somebody out, but push them off the turret. So Gravity may be getting a little bit more of what they want. Keen's going to fly to the bottom lane, see how long Gravity can keep them here, and roll Dignitas around.
Split focus there by Gravity. They needed to choose Sion or Zac, and I would have expected everybody to go on to Zac. That's what Cop was thinking. But St. Vicious just chased down Gamsu's Sion for a little bit, and they had enough damage to kill one, but because they split it, they didn't kill either, and then they didn't even get the turret. So they spent all that time finding a way into Dignitas' jungle that wasn't spotted by a ward or caught by a Scrying Orb, and then they just hit different targets.
Yeah, had Dignitas actually been there fully as a team, I mean, it's a what if, but that could have been Gravity's mistake. They did not have too many deep wards past where St. Vicious was hiding. We'll see how they approach it next time. Got a few ultimates out, knowing that Shifters is down. Probably be back up before the next fight, so they'll be ready for it.
It's kind of surprising that Shifter ended up burning Flash in that tussle since he was sitting so far back. He had actually been flanked by Keen's Fizz way on the mid lane. So still Keen providing a little bit of pressure in that way. So now they almost want to look at the guy that doesn't have Flash as well as being the squishiest target on the map in Xerath to try and close down. I'm wondering where Keen's going with his item build as well. Abyssal Scepter, and now he's sitting on the Needlessly Large Rod. These hybrid builds are very difficult to scale into the late game.
Well, he's got the armor, he's got the magic resist. He could just go more armor, he could go the AP. Go Rabadons, why not? Be interesting. Another thing to mention that they are so far ahead, they're putting extra money already into upgrading trinkets, which is going to start hurting Dignitas even more in vision. Here's the Stampede going down. A Zingy gets the thingy, and it looks like they're going to try to take him down. St. Vicious locks him with the Glacial Prison. That's going to be a quick pickup on the blobs. Who's going to get it?
JJ's not even close. He's trying to split push right now. I wonder if Gravity continues to just pressure around this Baron. They have a teleport to stop the Trist and maintain threat on this Baron.
Oh dear.
Really interesting here, guys.
Hunter dives in. Oh, Kiwi Kid gets crit twice in a row from the hands of Cop. They're going to be able to push these guys out immediately, and this is what Gravity was looking for. The entire Death Squad was in the jungle for Team Dignitas this time, and they push them right out with 2 kills in their name.
And add insult to injury, the Hecarim solo Trist on the other side of the map, so this will be a Baron for Gravity, I'd have to think. Shifter burns right to the Arcane, difficulty to poke him off that Baron. Looks like Gravity just took complete control of this game.
Indeed they did. 20 minutes on the clock, and it was even pretty much across the board for 1,000 gold or 2 in favor of Gravity. 9 minutes later, now they're 7-2. Baron just picked up by them, 3-2 in turrets. Big moves. They're going to be on the front doorstep of Team Dignitas quite soon. Dig, however, trying to make some moves. They go for Dragon, start to get themselves a little bit closer.
Try and make the best of the bad situation.
Right.
The biggest thing that this does is it delays Gravity's ability to get 2-5 Dragons by quite some time. The earliest they could do that now is 35 minutes and 40 seconds if they instantly kill Dragon every time it spawned. Or 45 minutes, that is. Let's take a look at this solo. I mean,
so he actually missed 2 of his main abilities.
Yeah, but he still got him.
That's Spirit of Dread.
Yeah, that's Hecarim for you. He did get the damage from his Rampage before he was knocked back, which definitely helped him.
Good eye.
Beat Core JJ there. But then, yeah, Core JJ, I feel like the only thing Core JJ misplayed there is he rocket jumped onto the Hecarim because he was trying to burst him. If he rocket jumps away, I think he ends up winning that duel. Haunter just beat him to death, unfortunately.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
That will happen. Let's see what they come out with. Looks like it will be Azanya's over on the side of Keen. And I think we're getting another Frozen Heart as well from Haunter. Why not? Gravity had 3 yesterday, almost 4. So.
Frozen Heart's a great Hecarim item as well. Cooldown reduction is very key.
Yep. Spin like a helicopter.
Yep.
So now the slow push with Baron across the map. You see how much trouble these guys are having just taking down the minions in general. The last whisper is finished up for Core JJ, though. Hopefully they can protect him long enough and out of range as some of these Frozen Hearts or the entire dive team of Gravity to make it work.
And, I mean, looking at Kopp as well, having those items completed, he's a large damage threat to the backline. And even the tanks of Team Dignitas have to run away in fear. This is really hard for Dignitas to hold. Oh, dear.
I feel like I just saw Gamsu like waving to his team. See you later, guys. See you later. They take down Kiwi Kid. He has no chance to disengage. Even with the Monsoon, he is still just trampled on by this team of Gravity that they put together.
I don't see how Team Dignitas fights this yet. Gravity's still in the midst of their power spikes, plus they have a 10,000 gold lead. Binding lands, Gamsu, no ult this time.
He is right in the frying pan, and he gets cooked up. That's going to be the first inhibitor of the game. Maybe Jab. They get pushed off here. Gamsu's dead body is still pretty scary. Core JJ uses that Buster shot. They're using their ultimates just to defend everything, which means they're not going to be able to defend the next.
The wall of pain Gravity has created here. Nice flank ability from Keen. Huge amounts of damage coming out from Kopp's Sivir, who has sneakily become the most threatening member on this team. And then that weird Fizz build to top it all off. Just picked up a giant spell off to Azanya's.
And look at,
why not?
Obviously they're winning, but smiles on their faces. Gravity is always a very laid-back team this season. The environment that they have to work with, they've said, has just been one of the best. Kopp explicitly has said that himself.
Yeah, and this is an incredibly important game for Gravity as far as the playoffs are concerned. 8-7, the unexpected win against TSM yesterday, but now they can move to 9-7. When you look at their competition that they have to clinch over, you know, you have Team 8 at 8-7 who plays Cloud9 today.
Yep.
And they basically only have to beat Team Liquid there, who's sitting at 7-8. I mean, a win here puts Gravity in tremendous position as far as the playoffs are concerned.
Maybe above that 4th at some point.
You never know.
To achieve it is the goal. Every team's goal. One of the teams that hasn't really had to see any switches this year. The roster has worked from the get-go. Dignitas has been switching a few things around here and there. Now, finding some success with the Zingy in the jungle. but it's not working towards the mid to late game. It seems like the early part of the game is something they've been able to round out since it's the one you do the most.
I guess so. Something they've been able to do well, but the plans afterwards just are not working out for them. They had a tank line, they had some ways of initiating, but ultimately the flank and the Sejuani. 007 there you see on St. Vicious. Just team fight mobility by Gravity, been catching Team Dignitas unawares. And now at this point the goal lead is so large. As he goes, desperation, he gets a lot of damage on the Cobb!
That was huge, right of the Arcane is on the backside. CoreJJ not able to get too many shots off. He's just like simply denting Haunter. It's not really doing too much, even if he got the turret on him. They finally take down Haunter as Gravity goes a little too deep, but a little baffled there by the fact that they couldn't take him down.
A beautiful initiation by Zingy there, and he barely gets touched on the way out of that one. That's what Team Dignitas needed to be doing much sooner, is just let a Zingy go into him. That Zac ultimate did some huge work, nearly killing Cop. If they could have done that, then maybe they could have pushed out of their base, but because it was just the 1-for-0 on the man with the teleport who can rejoin the team shortly, it's going to be some Baron and Dragon contests, which aren't very contestable because Team Dignitas does not have wards.
I was wondering when these scrying orbs were going to come into play, when they could figure out who's picked off. Yeah, now a triple scrying orb. Who's picked off, who's just slightly away from the team, and with Haunter kind of pushing that mid wave, I guess it was just the chance for Zingy to dive in. So good use. Good to know that Dignitas still ready to look for these fights and get Gravity off their front doorstep. Gamsu doing what he can to quickly push these waves to relieve a little bit of pressure, give Team Dignitas some breathing room as they've been kind of backs against the wall here for the past 10 minutes.
They really have. At this point, with Dragon and Baron coming up somewhat closely to each other, I feel like Team Dignitas, especially by the position of Tristana, CoreJJ wants to try and sneak the Dragon by himself. Cop also has the same idea. And because of the ward inside, CoreJJ sees the horsey, he's not going to go for that. Or will he? At this point in the game, Trist was hoping to be able to shoot it over the wall with some extended range. Just
the draw bead range.
Not to be.
That would have been nice. LCS big plays. The spawn of Baron. And whoop. It's ready to go down. So no contest here coming in from Team Dignitas. They know they're going to have to fight against this. Fight against all the minions? Maybe. Zingy finally crawling in here from the top side.
There's no Xerath, no Scion.
Nope, this happened yesterday, and Zingy went down very fast. He wasn't even really able to get in range, and looks like that's going to be the case once again. Baron goes down as Keen peels off first to make sure they are safe and secure. Matter of time now. Haunter doesn't even have to leave his lane for that to happen. You can see how much pressure is just coming down on Team Dignitas now.
Some nice item completions there by Gravity as well. Cop finishing Bloodthirster, building an Elixir of Wrath just for an extra spike of power. Team Dignitas needs to hope that Shifter can wave clear through the Baron buff, which is near impossible, unfortunately. The other thing that they can hope for is another initiation like the one Zingy had, but this time, since Cop still hasn't built magic resistance, to be able to actually finish him off with the Zac damage plus the Xerath barrage. I think that's the only way Team Dignitas holds them off here.
Yep. So Cop has the Elixir of Wrath, as does CoreJJ. He's already drank his, and Shifter is trying to work with that Elixir of Sorcery. A bit more damage out. So everybody is putting some gold into those items right now, hoping that their cores are finished. Gravity now to split the entire base right around the horn. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be Keen in the mid lane here as the top inhibitor
That
goes
was
down.
the easy one. So Gravity takes it.
That was the appetizer. Second course. Looks like Haunter and Gamsu are fighting over whether it's going to be red or white wine.
This is the one that needs to be defended, but Team Dignitas is not in position. They're just one step slow, it seems like, ever since that early game where they had a great start.
Yeah. Oh. Great bindings on a Zingy. That's the second one Bunny Fufu's hit every time he goes to the elastic.
Can't jump in.
Can't jump in. Because that creates a lot of pressure in itself, just to see him standing there. Cop knows it's a little dangerous. There's another inhibitor going down. These are pretty uncontested. It's got to be a go for broke here if Dignitas wants to save their base.
Yeah, well, you got to be able to stop Bunny Fufu's binding. Binding is down. That means a Zingy. You got to start charging.
He's now on the bottom side, trying to give himself an entry into the fight. Binding actually almost hits either Gamsu or a Zingy there.
Gravity being so patient.
Way more careful this time.
Yeah, they're coming together as a team, that's for sure. The game that Gravity won against TSM yesterday showing some strength. These bruiser mid lanes that they're able to pick for Keen.
Yep.
Cop being as reliable as ever. They bind to Zingy once again. That might give him this turret.
It's going to be enough. That is the Sivir ultimate going down. There's Haunter to the backside of the fight. Kiwi Kid, oh, the Glacial Prison hits core JJ and extends all the way to Kiwi. Saints on point with Sej this game. 13-3. That's going to be the final inhibitor. Gamsu is running out of the base, and it's going to be the Nexus turrets going down in favor of Gravity.
39 minutes, but they were in control for the last 3/4 of that game. After a slight slip up early, Gravity moves their record to 9-7. Saint had to die to ruin a score.
Very nicely done. A win on the board for them. Gravity take down Dignitas.
Good old St. Vicious. Land Smite, he had the perfect game going for him. No objective stolen, 0-0-10. Then he goes and dies to the Nexus.
Then he goes and dies. Sorry, fantasy owners.
Half point. See you later. More importantly, though, it's a big-time win for Gravity in the standings, moving themselves to 9-7. Team Dignitas as well was hoping to pick up a few wins this week to try and join the edge of that playoff race, but those hopes are beginning to dwindle a little bit. They're now 5-11. They're just hoping for 7th place at this point. They can somehow catch Team Liquid, who is currently sitting at 7-8. But that's still 2 wins behind. And with a win the Liquid has today, they could actually eliminate Dignitas from a chance of that 7th place.
Yep.
I believe.
That was tough. Seemed like there was a bit of, back and forth in champion select for Team Dignitas. Obviously getting things that they wanted. Xerath is something that Shifter plays, but there was a bit of hesitation on that last pick.
Yeah.
Not knowing, am I going against Hecker? Am I going against Fizz? Gravity has had these little aces up their sleeves lately. They're really throwing teams for a loop.
Definitely feels like it. The variety in champion select is starting to find a pattern for Gravity. This was definitely their best possible week for that.
Right.
Teams will be able to adjust next week a little bit to their composition style. Triple front line does have counters, but Gravity has been able to complete these team compositions with the last pick being the 3rd frontliner, and then they're facing oppositions that aren't ready for that play style very well.
Well, you know what they're going to do against the next team? Just build 5 Frozen Hearts. And even more. Look, there's one in his summoner slot. But no, that guy right there standing behind Cop. Always keeping him safe in lane. Getting a good early game roam on to blow Shifter's flash. And then the end game bindings to lock down a Zingy. The one thing we saw there, that glimmer of hope that almost took down Cop on the bottom initiation, was shut down one time after the other.
The zoom on Cop right at the end. And a really tough series of games for Zingy since he's joined in this Team Dignitas team. Things just not quite going their way. You can see shreds of improvement on the Team Dignitas side, but they have not been able to pull it together for victories outside of that one win they had against Coast in Week 7.
It's been a difficult task. Even the community, we knew coming in with the Zingy, it was still going to be a team effort coming in. It wasn't a carry from him. Team Dignitas was struggling a bit, so it's always going to take time to work and try to get out of that slump. Right now, however, we are going to send it over to our guys on the analyst desk to get their thoughts on Gravity's 2-0 finish this week.
Thank you, Riv. And kind of the big story for this game was the lane swap. And Dignitas actually playing it out pretty well with the Tristana Janna in denying that CS and experience to Hecarim. But Gravity managed to get back into the game.
They had such a good start, using the really quick shove of Tristana and Janna to get on the other side of the turret before Keen could get in experience range. But then there was that mishap after the lanes, got back to normal, and Sion tried to fight Hecarim in the minion wave, and Hecarim was able to shove Sion all the way back to base and get the wave all the way into the turret. after that, they lost their huge advantage that they had, discrepancy with experience and gold of the top laners. And the rest of the game was honestly a pretty mixed bag.
Yeah, and also the fact that Sion, is very powerful and had to level up over Hecarim, but the ignite that he brings to the lane gives him that type of pressure to get in there and make that kind of comeback. So we saw him slowly but surely. I thought it was going to be another game where I'm like, Hanser loses a lane swap. He's not able to get any CS, but Gamsu kind of threw him a bone there and shoved the wave up and allowed him to freeze it again.
Yeah, Gravity have had problems using the Hecarim and trying to get through the early game, and it almost happened again.
Yeah.
But they did get...
It's like they don't know what to do when somebody shows up and Hecarim's like, okay, I can't get to the turret, and I just sit here for 3 minutes, 2 minutes, doing nothing and letting them clear wave after wave after wave, and he gets absolutely nothing for it.
Yeah, there was a substantial amount of time that he was there without anything to do. They even rotated Saint over, only then to make the realization that that wasn't going to help either.
Yeah, and then Saint just doesn't get any experience at that point. But then later on, Saint did a really good job of kind of pairing up with Bunny and Cop, making this 3-man roam squad that was just knocking down turrets. So they went top, they went bottom, they kept getting objectives, and that's kind of what got them into a good position in this game, was Saint being that 3-man squad with them, because that's a lot of CC on the Sejuani that supplements the Morgana lockup, that supplements the damage that Cop is bringing. So that's a very scary roam squad that nobody wants to mess with.
Yeah, one quick thing I want to hit on is, and Jat touched on it a little bit, is the idea that Gravity seems to be catching their opponents off guard a little bit with the fact that they have yesterday the Urgot mid.
The tower dives mid?
Exactly.
They was catching everybody off.
Right, yeah, exactly. Like, whoa. No, but that's part of my point, actually, is that they brought out the Fizz. They flex the Hecarim, right? They bring out the Fizz, but they put it mid lane, and they build it kind of bruisery AP. And although he wasn't having a ton of success in actually securing kills in the mid lane, right? They had the few attempted ganks in the mid lane. It seems like people aren't quite sure how to deal with these things, and that's an advantage in and of itself without having to actually get the kills off of it.
Yeah, so the individual play there, of course, it was another failed mid-tower dive. Not the cleanest, but I do like the new Fizz builds where since the AP ratios were taken down, he's not this bursty AP assassin that's going to 100% somebody like him once again. So you concentrate on building more utility. He built 2 auras, and the cooldown reduction from your Frozen Heart allows you to get so many more playful tricksters off that you're going to survive in the team fights for a long time and apply both of those auras for the entire duration. Plus, as we saw, he didn't have a problem dealing damage either. And once he got the Zanyas as well, it's so ridiculously hard to kill a Fizz with that much cooldown reduction and a Zanyas.
And the resistances, so that even when you are hitting him, you're not doing that much damage.
And then the Giant's Belt for health, he's just going tanky.
I think overall, though, the picture is really good for Gravity moving into playoffs. This is another. This is their 2-0 week. This is another win for them. They're feeling really, really confident moving into the playoffs and very secure in their spot.
Yeah, they move to 9-7. Of the 2 games they have left to play, they're playing Cloud9 and Team 8, who is the other team that they were tied with. So as long as they play that game out well, really, they're in a fantastic spot moving into the playoffs with some momentum. So overall, a solid win for them there. A win they definitely needed to pick up against Team Dignitas, but solid all around by them. Now we have to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because when we return, we'll jump straight into the long-awaited rivalry rematch between Team Solo Mid and Counter Logic Gaming. You're not going to want to miss it.
Bunny, do you have the sheet?
No, do you?
No.
What?
Bunny was even like sitting next to me. Pick up the sheet and come back here.
Yeah. Go now. You go now. You have to leave now.
Hurry.
You have to go now.
Every second counts.
Just go. Wait, David is not supposed to leave this thing.
Wait, he actually left?
Yeah.
TP from both sides. Hanser from the base. Gamsu in right above them. Hanser on home guards. Binding lands. Gamsu no ult this time. He is right in the frying pan and he gets cooked up. There's Hanser to the backside of the fight. Kiwi Kid. Oh, the Glacial Prison hits core JJ and extends all the way to Kiwi. Very nicely done. Gravity take down Dignitas.